All right, folks, welcome back to the Serious Angler podcast, and welcome back to another edition of the Seriously Western segment here at Serious Angler. And as always, joined by Idaho's finest, Mr. Adam Deacon. Bro, what's going on?
Man, man, not too much. Just ripping some shows. Excited for today's, but yeah, man, it's summertime, but still spawning fish. We're in the north, you and I both, so just enjoying the weather. It's starting to be 70s, beautiful out here in southern Idaho.
Yeah, dude. I mean, granted, we only have 2 days of it, which I'm okay with because I hate major heat, but like it was
Yeah.
85 degrees here today. So it's kind of nice. I went and got a little afternoon workout in, so I got a little more sweat in today.
Hmm.
It was nice to be out in shorts and a t-shirt and actually like thinking about getting the air conditioner out because we haven't had that thought since September, I think, of
Yeah.
last year. So that part was nice, but it's making me look forward to all the different camping and all the the truck camp type stuff trips this summer, which is a perfect segue into telling folks that as always, the seriously Western segment is always brought to you by Amped Outdoors, which here at Serious Angler is our preferred solution for lithium batteries, power stations, things for boat, kayak, RV, all that jazz. Any adventure we go on at Amped Outdoors is the one that's powering that for us. So check them out. They're supporting the West Coast. But this one, dude, kind of tell the folks we got a pretty banger episode for today. Tell them a little about it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, again, serious Western. We're trying to just bring in Western components, shed light on some of these Western fisheries and the folks that are out here tournament fishing and just fishing and checking out these super unique bodies of water that we are so lucky to have. And one of today's, the I guess inception of today's show really had to do with thinking through maybe places that are not talked about very much in the West. Everyone hears about California, right? For instance,
Mhm.
when it comes to West Coast fishing, but you don't hear about some of these other states. And this one is Washington. We get Mr. Taylor Smith on, who is just an absolute hammer when it comes to the Northwest in general. But Washington, I guess not native. He's from Idaho, but Washington guy over there in Spokane, and we get his take on just the industry in general, what fishing tournaments are like in the Northwest, the scene that's kind of at or the scene that's currently here, as well as some of the fisheries. We get into the details of some of these super unique and diverse fisheries
Yeah.
in Washington. And we get to talk to him about some of his classic experiences, which he has been to twice and has done very well. He's an absolute killer when it comes to tournament fishing and just being on the water. So great show.
And killer when it comes to big bucks too, which for the YouTube
Also,
folks are gonna be able to see.
we're both wearing camo hats for whatever reason, and then we get him on the show, and it's just like, dude, you've got some mega whitetails behind you. Let's hear a little bit about that. So
Yeah, can't not. But it was fate, dude. I didn't even think about it. I was literally starting the show, and I was just thinking, I'm sitting here. I honestly just didn't even look when I grabbed my hat for this show, but
I
it's
do
kind of fitting. I
random.
wore a Kuiu hat for
Yeah,
this one,
yeah.
so it's a little Western. Maybe I'll just keep rocking the Western brands
I
for
love
these
it,
shows.
dude.
Yeah,
The West is best, man, especially when it comes to gear. They
West
know
is
how to
best,
make some
dude. That's a fact.
they know how to
That is
make
a
some
fact.
serious apparel. I mean, it just you deal with big conditions out west, and there's so many good brands that are designed and manufactured out west for sure.
Well, yeah, and it, like the stuff holds up because that's like some of the harshest terrain you'll find in the states. It's
Mhm.
especially what I think as I mean, this is a whole different deal that we're not going to go down this rabbit hole because we'll be here for another hour. But like these evolving styles of bow hunting, where more and more guys are kind of being mobile with saddles and on the ground, things
Oh
like
yeah,
that. You're preaching, that Western style of stalking and exactly what you guys do for elk and muleys and stuff like that. Where it's not as, at least for the Northeast anyway, not as popular of a way to hunt them. But it's some stuff I've seen on like the hunting public guys do it, and some of the channels I watch with guys out west, and try to bringing it to New York. So that's the West Coast stuff is is kind of ideal in that regard. But we talk a little bit about that with Taylor, which we'll save it for the show. But there's a cool comparison amongst guys that are really good at killing big bucks and how good they are, specifically tournament fishing and bass fishing. It's a cool conversation from that regard. But man, I don't know if there's anything else. Like, I think we need to get the folks into today's show. They're probably just say, "Hey, you goobers, shut up. We want
Shut up
we want to
and
hear
get
from
into
Taylor."
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree.
Well, without further ado, Mr. Taylor Smith. All right, folks, we are here joined by Mr. Taylor Smith out from the West Coast, back with our Serious Anglers, Seriously Western. Taylor, what's going on, man?
Hey guys, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So, dude, you are you come with high praise. Deacon and I were ideating around a new Seriously Western segment, and he's like, "Dude, we got to get Taylor on." And
Yeah,
so I have high expectations. That's all I'm saying. But you're living up to it by the at least the backdrop so far.
I
Some
appreciate
mega
that.
bucks.
Yeah, I haven't got to Adam and I haven't got to hang out much or talk a lot, but every time I've seen him, he's like nipping at my heels on one of my home lakes, on the brink of kicking my butt in a tournament. So I guess I would say that I have some high praise for him as well.
I would say the key word there is nipping on the heels. There's isn't, hey, Adam has beat me yet. Like that's what we're working towards. But yeah, Taylor's a problem when it comes to anywhere, but especially North Idaho and uh Eastern Washington. Like, dude absolutely is a problem. It's more like damage control. We know he's gonna cash a check. It's is it first or is it somewhere down the line? So anyways,
Yeah, I
glad
appreciate that,
glad
man.
to get you on the show finally.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Sure. I mean, so kind of to start here, we see some great big bucks behind you. Bailey and I have been drooling over those. I have done just a little bit of whitetail hunting. I've really enjoyed it, the little bit that I've done in Colorado. I haven't done any in Idaho yet, but I've done some on the river bottoms in Colorado. But man, you've got some great bucks there, and it sounds like you're an archery hunter as well. Tell us a little bit about what you kind of spend your fall doing.
Yeah, I'm addicted to chasing these guys around. When I went to school, I went to the University of Idaho in Moscow, and just fell in love with whitetail hunting. And then when I moved to Washington after school, I met some guys that are just absolute incredible archery hunters and fishermen, for that matter. And they're some of my closest friends. And I've learned so much about archery hunting from them over the years. And Washington just has such a good archery season offering. They manage for big deer. That's changing a little bit, and their wolf management is terrible,
Sounds
unfortunately.
like
So
a
it's going
Washington.
downhill, yeah. But man, the last decade and a half, I've been super fortunate to shoot some really big deer with my bow here in Washington. So I love it. Yeah, in November, I'm usually in the woods looking for one of those suckers to hunt for sure.
Heck yeah.
Mostly like from the ground doing some stalking, or like do you have like a
You
preferred method?
know, I hunt out of a tree mostly, yeah. So, we can bait in Washington, so we do some baiting. We hunt over
Okay.
scrapes. Yeah, I have a buddy that's killed a couple really good ones off the ground. It's just so tough. We hunt mostly national forests, so it's tough, but you can do it. I mean, you can do it. You can call them in from the ground and shoot one. It's just tough to kill a big old deer that way. So I'm usually in a tree of some sort, hunting. I'm freezing my tail off and sunburned. Yeah,
That's awesome, man. I mean, I think Bailey led into this a little bit at the beginning before we got went live, but like there's an absolute correlation. I see it all the time between guys who are just, wicked in the woods, and chasing really big animals and putting their time in, both on the water and in the woods. And it's cool to see another obvious connection there for someone like yourself.
yeah. Well, you're right, and I think there's a lot of similarities to hunting and fishing, especially tournament fishing. Yeah, and there's hunting and fishing does correlate a lot. You see a lot of the like best elite guys, super into whitetail hunting too, of course, and yeah, so there is a lot of correlation. And then just like the work you kind of touched on it, but the work ethic, like usually
Mhm.
if you're, you know, hard work. I see the banner behind Bailey, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
nobody work hard or nobody works hard.
As nobody cares, work harder. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. I love that
Yeah.
motto because that's the deal. That's usually what separates and makes one of these happen, or creates success in the tournament. So that's a big part of it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It I love that, and because like you can look at it from both ends, where it's especially when you talk about the time, because like you can go out and fish, a couple times a year, and you can catch fish every time. You might not catch giants or the biggest bag, but you can catch them. And same with hunting, like you can go out a couple weekends during season and maybe kill a deer, whether it's likely not going to be a big one. And sometimes you see those guys on Facebook getting lucky, like, oh, first
Get
time
lucky.
killing a deer,
Yeah.
it's a giant,
Right.
but it's the guys that are really putting in the time, especially like before season even starts or even off the water when we're talking hunting versus fishing. The guys that are consistently killing giant bucks and then consistently either winning tournaments but also catching big bass consistently. Those mindsets are just, and the time you mentioned, the time being put in are so similar. And
Yeah.
that's we've been super fascinated about that conversation for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. I totally agree.
It's a
Now,
selfish route, man. Like all this stuff, right? Like I think about that all the time. Like the amount of time that all of us and even to any level of tournament fishing and hunting that we spend alone chasing something is
Yeah.
like often, man. Like there's a lot of just like long days and whatever else. It's just like, yeah, like this is a lot of time by myself that I'm putting directly into something that it's a little bit of a selfish game, but it's kind of how we are all wired, I feel like, to some degree.
Yeah, it's like more of a passion than it is a hobby, right? Like it becomes part of you, and like your drive to do it is more than just, like, and yeah, it's selfish, you could say. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
especially when you surround yourself with other people, obviously, and you're spending so much time, it can be a little selfish.
And I
But
don't mean that in a negative light. It's just kind of like how it
yeah,
is, right? Like if you're going to be
yeah,
really good at it, you kind of got to be a little selfish. Like,
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And you
yeah.
take away other aspects of your life. I remember, uh, Polinick always talking about that. Like there was a lot of
yes.
things that he missed because the path that he's from my area, and
Mhm.
notable names. And I remember him saying that all the time. Like there's a lot of things that he missed because he took the path that he did and spent so much time perfecting his craft. So yeah, you're exactly right.
Totally.
It, my buddy Eric Clark, who's over at Okayest Hunter, they came out with a T-shirt this past hunting season for the wives and the spouses of the hunters that says "I survived deer season,"
That's
uh,
awesome.
just because it's like we're always gone.
Uh, Yeah,
Yeah.
my wife sends every hunting season sends me memes and gifts. And
Hey, as long as you got a supporting partner, and it comes back to that network conversation, right? Of having people around you that support on all fronts. Like as
yeah,
long as you got that, you're ready to rock, man. Like my wife, thank gosh, she loves to read and likes her alone time too, because I'd be screwed. Or she's shooting me out of the house. She's like, "Go hunt, she'll go kill something or catch something." She goes, "I'm sick of you right now."
that's right.
Like you got to have that.
Yeah, 100%. And it goes both ways. I'm sure you support
Mhm.
her just the same, the stuff she
Oh
loves to
yeah,
do. So
that's right. Well, dude,
Exactly.
throw it back to the beginning. I mean, we're talking about a whole bunch of different, passions, hunting, fishing, all that jazz. But like, who's to blame for all this? For this lifelong addiction of all this stuff, and kind of, I guess your entry route into all.
yeah, and I grew up in Boise, so in
Really?
southern Idaho. Yeah, so went to Capitol High. I know you're down there now, right, Adam?
Yeah. Yep. In Boise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
So grew up in Boise. Went to Capitol High. Grew up in I guess, kind of the northwest part of town. Played sports. My dad always fished and hunted. He'd go to elk camp every year in September with his buddies, and I'd always be excited for him to come before cell phones. Excited for him to roll back into town to see if he had an elk on the top of his rig, So, um, and he fished all the time. He loved chasing. Always wanted to catch a 5 pound smallmouth, which isn't easy to do down there, especially pre live
Oh.
scope. So he just always had a wiggle wart in his hand going fishing, and probably more
Hell
than he
yeah.
should have. And made me go with him. I mean, I have a lot of stories of just. I remember being a little kid riding on a raised ice sled, and we were going across Cascade he was towing me on a snowmobile, and
Okay.
we hit a compression crack, and I went tumbling, and he didn't realize, and I just saw him going off in the dark, because of course, we got to be there before light. It's the middle of winter, and here I am balling as a little kid. So he always had me out there fishing, and that's how at first, I think I grew some hatred towards it, but as I
Yeah, no kidding.
as I grew up, I had some passion. I started fishing superior bass, which is like
Okay.
the
Yeah.
pro-am back in the day down there.
Yeah.
Um, when I was in high school, I remember one of the tournaments landed on prom, and I skipped out on prom. And we had a tournament that we had a derb down there at Hell's Canyon. So started tournament fishing, doing that, and there's a ton of those guys. There's a lot of good guys down in Southern Idaho, but there's not
Yeah.
a lot of diversity down there, honestly. So
Oh,
I came up
totally
to,
agree.
yeah. So it's hard to learn a lot about like grass fishing or largemouth in general. When I came up to the University of Idaho, I ended up getting a bass boat my junior year, and
Okay.
started fishing up here. And dude, there's just so many opportunities up here for fishing. Like the fishing is just super diverse in North Idaho. And I met guy I still tournament fish with, Dan Jensen, in college actually. So Dan
Cool.
Jensen and I have fished since college. So that was 2000 and I guess 7. We fished together. Most of the people change partners, but we really
Team
haven't.
fishing for almost 20 years.
Yeah,
Wow. That is
yeah, and
awesome.
we've learned so much together. Like, he's super smart, awesome, hard worker, awesome fisherman, and we've
Yeah.
just learned so much together over the years. So from there, mostly do team stuff just because it's what's close. There's not a lot of opportunity in the Northwest for otherwise. Starting to be, as you know, Adam.
Yeah.
So we've mostly done team stuff and had a lot of success. And then, obviously, I fished the nation a couple times, and was lucky to qualify for the classic both times I fished the nation stuff. So I got the chance to fish the classic a couple times. And
Two
yeah,
two for two is not bad making the classic. That's pretty the nation's a
dude,
long.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
impressive.
super fortunate. Yeah, and you have to, like some things have to go your way, right? So that's a lot of fortunate stuff. Cookies had to crumble for you to get through the nation path to get there. So yeah, super fortunate to do that. Yeah.
So which two classics did you fish?
2020 Gunnersville and 2022 Hartwell. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So
That's which was your favorite and how did you and I haven't pulled it. I don't have your stats right in front of me here, but
oh,
like how
you're
did
good.
you fare?
You're good. Gunnersville, I was super excited about, man. I love fishing grass, and it was right. So it was right when LiveScope started coming out in
Okay.
2019 in the fall. I had borrowed a boat to fish um, Nationals, which was on Hartwell. So
Oh
Nationals
wow.
was on Hartwell. I think I was the only boat with LiveScope. The guy that I borrowed the boat
Damn.
was like, "Hey, do you want my Garmin LiveScope or my 360?" And I was a Humminbird 360 guy, so I'm like, "If you can put the 360 on, do it. If not, I'm not worried about it." I didn't get any pre-practice. Showed up and dude, it was just, I mean, honestly, it was like cheating. If you have LiveScope on Hartwell before LiveScope was a thing, so
Oh yeah.
God.
Wow. Spotted
yeah.
that.
So
Wow.
I didn't even know I'd never used it. I launched the boat, didn't even turn it on. Midday, I turned it on, saw a cane pile that was loaded with fish. I'm like, Jesus, is that easy? And I started going, and it kind of was. But,
Oh man.
so, anyways, Gunnersville, I fished Gunnersville. Then the worst part about that is I won a boat through the nation, right? To
Okay.
fish with out of the next year. You had to fish out of a nation wrap boat.
Got it.
And sponsored by Lowrance, and I instead of getting a live scope and putting it on there, I put a Humminbird 360 on and didn't put the graph on at the start of the classic, and then plugged it in, when I got to my spot because like the Lowrance rep, they didn't have 360. But I
Right.
just look back on that. I'm like, how did I not realize how awesome LiveScope was and use LiveScope for that first classic? So anyways, that's the one that Hank Cherry won. You saw him staring at his
Okay.
screen. Everyone's like, "What's he looking at?" As he's throwing the jerk bait on riprap. And I found these epic school of fish in practice and was so excited. And I had a bunch of eel. We had a windstorm come through and water came up and a bunch of eelgrass blew in on them and you couldn't even make a cast. And I just didn't adapt well enough. Ended up getting like 45th place or something out of 55 guys. The fishing was super tough. And then Hartwell, 2 years later, was way better. I got eighth. So I think I got eighth in that
Jeez.
classic. So, which was
Fishing
great.
eighth in the classic. That's
Yeah, it's
incredible.
awesome. Yeah, it's fantastic. So, had a great tournament there. Yeah, so definitely Hartwell was my favorite classic. Michaela was going, my wife was going through some health issues at the time. She got to come down. There was just so many things going on in my life at that time that I had a bunch of friends down there with me. It felt so good to kind of get redemption from Gunnersville, because you kind of feel like you let a bunch of people down when you make the classic and then you don't do well against all the people you've idled your whole life. So to come back to Hartwell and do a little better felt good. I was irritated because I really felt like I had a chance to win that thing, but that's another story. So
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I love that feeling, or the notion you just said about feeling like you let somebody down when you didn't do well in the classic. I think that comes back to that killer mindset. It's like, well, you made the freaking classic, dude.
Right.
Like
yeah.
you're going
Seeing
across the
that,
stage. There's so
No,
many
yeah.
guys that are sitting there jealous of you right now.
Well, that's not lost on me either. I mean, more like, like there's a lot of really good fishermen around the world. And when you're fishing the Bass Nation and you're representing all the guys that maybe could fish, and there's a lot of guys around the country that could make it in the Elite Series, in my opinion, that don't do it because it's not a really viable path. And so, you're representing those people, all the weekend guys. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, you just want to do well and represent for yourself and your family, of course, too. But yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, like you're kind of representing the silent majority, if you will, of bass fishing, right? Like there's a lot of hammers out there that we know, like, man, could compete at different, very, very high levels, and to be able to kind of showcase against the best in the world is a really cool thing. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and so
It's
I
a cool
understand that.
opportunity. You don't want to flounder it. So, and you're on
Yeah,
the stage, the classics. So you never want to crap the bed in that setting. But it was fun. I mean, it was great. No complaints at all.
yeah,
It was a dream. I mean, it's a dream come true. You guys know, like walking across the classic stage was unbelievable.
dude,
So,
totally.
Can't even imagine.
That would be
from flipping over in my ice sled when I was whatever, I could barely even stand with my dad screaming at the top of my lungs as I saw the light go off in the distance in the dark on Cascade Lake to fish in the classic was a huge leap. So trust me, I'm
Yeah.
super grateful. It was awesome.
that's sweet. Great.
That's
Well,
for sure.
and just as a kind of a sidebar on that, as far as big changes to the Bass Nation
Yeah.
qualification system, going that route, are you still trying to make it back to the Classic? Do you have any plans to try and do that? What does kind of tournament fishing look like for you right now?
Yeah, I haven't, Adam. Since they changed the format, I haven't tried to qualify. Actually, I think that's my Western regional trophy right there. And
Yeah.
when they did away with the regionals, so it used to be, you had your state team, they went to regionals. If you were the first out of your state, you went to nationals and you fished against 52 guys for 3 spots at the classic. It was a long route, but it was viable.
Yeah.
It was fun. It gave you a real shot. When they changed from that to the current format where you have a couple people, depending on the size of your state, qualify to represent each state to go to this 250 boat nationals field. 60 of them, I think, or maybe 80, are made up of these money grab open tournaments,
Mhm.
several of which are locals to the lake. It just completely changed the dynamic of the Bass Nation. It just isn't what it used to be. And so, yeah, I don't like the new format. And, I understand. Sorry, dog. This is Wilson, by the way. Um,
Wilson.
Wilson.
So I think Bass says they had to do it financially. They were losing money on those. So if that's no one will ever know. It's not like you're going to see that. But if that's the truth, then I totally get it. From a business aspect. But it's just not what it was. It's not what it used to
Yeah,
be.
man, I couldn't agree more. It was unfortunate for me to see that. I mean, I understand it's just not viable for these tournament organizations that are built in Alabama and in the East to push stuff out
Yeah.
west, but not even just out west. Like I fished that stuff kind of religiously, never made it nearly as far as to where you have with all that, but I thought it was a viable option. I always enjoyed that approach. And now, really, I mean, I don't have any desire to, I don't even know if I think I'm still a Bass member because I paid for like a 5-year membership, but like, hey, I love watching all the Elite Series. I have a lot of buddies fishing the Opens. It's great. I will continue supporting all
Huge.
of that. But
Yep.
as far as the Bass Nation stuff goes, it's just like, I mean, really, it's either you go fish a one bass and qualify in the top 10 and then go that way, or you travel to one of these other tournaments. It just doesn't make sense in my eyes. And that's kind of where I've leaned into a little bit more of the West Coast stuff. And so totally understand that. I just figured it'd be worth the question because you've got to actually experience a classic and see
Yeah.
all that. But it's also playing this game of odds and thinking through what makes sense with your time and money when it
Yeah,
comes to
and I think you're better off now going to fish an open. Like, go dedicate the time to an open series, and I really think you're better off. You have a better chance of winning one of those than you do a 250 boat with a bunch of local
yeah.
hammers. Um, and it's probably the same odds, right? Like, and you don't have to qualify for that. You just buy into an open. So it's
It's true.
like
I was gonna
the
say,
path
yeah.
the path to get there is it's just the incentive. And in Tibet, in Bass's defense, Bass Nation used to be what that was the grassroots, the filter up to who was going to be next. Now they have so much college and high school filter funnel to the top that
Right. Fair point.
they
Yeah.
don't need the Bass Nation. It's just you know Bass Nation kind of got them there, so it would be nice if it was a little more viable. But yeah, your sentiment's exactly right, Adam. It's tough. That's a tough road. It's tough to have incentive to go take that path now. I'm not saying I never will, but I just
Yeah.
have the last few years. So.
Sure. Sure. Got it.
It definitely makes sense though. Like being a like looking at it as a bummer, like because you took what was like a precursor classic, of 50 or so guys to 250. You basically just made it another national championship
You
style
just hit the
event.
nail
That's
on
just
the head. If John
yeah,
Stewart was listening to this, the old director of the nation, I think that he would be grinning ear to ear because he designed that just to replicate the classic. He used to say that we want to prepare you guys for what this looks like if you make it. I mean, there was a fuel truck there. They would come and fuel your boat in the boatyard. You'd have to keep your
that's
boat.
sick.
Yeah, at nationals, you'd have to keep your boat at the boatyard. There was a pre-meeting dinner. All this stuff. So it kind of replicated, just like you said, Bailey, a mini classic. So yeah, it used to be awesome and special, and I think maybe it's not as special anymore. I haven't been there since the new. It's just not the same. So that's it.
It reminds me
Yeah,
of the team championship a little bit, right? Like the best.
Yeah.
I fished a couple of those, and it's just like a big field. Everyone's kind of pushed there, and like you said, it's kind of like I don't know. Every single one of those, for the most part, minus a couple of outliers, which there are some outliers where guys have won it and they've gone on and fished the elites. Matt Robertson,
Matt
those
Robertson.
kinds of
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it was like, hey, he's on Lake Eufaula, Alabama, and the 8 of the top 10 were from Eufaula, Alabama.
100%. Yeah, totally. Yeah, if they would come up and do an open here on Coeur d'Alene, I'd be jacked. So I'd be all in. So.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I
come
love
on
it.
with it.
So what are you fishing now, man? Give us a little background on we'll kind of transition now into what Washington has to offer, but let's start with the tournament scene. We can talk, of course, some of North Idaho as well. You're right there on the border,
Yeah.
but give us some insight to what you're fishing, what you kind of see from a tournament scene perspective, and we can dig into that. Then we'll talk about fisheries specifically.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just fishing local, so I'm not traveling much. And Northwest Bass is kind of the biggest team circuit up here.
Okay.
A lot of times they're getting 60 boats plus, but they're just not any giant tournament circuits up here. So that's the best. And there's such an awesome group of lakes up here. Um, so Northwest Bass is Washington, Oregon. And then I fished the American Bass Association, not to be confused with American Bass Anglers. I've heard
A lot of
It's been
crossover
some
there.
rumblings.
a lot of buzz about that. So I've never fished that one in Alabama, but so I do all the ABA stuff up here, and we just fish. Dan and I fish both those circuits, so we have a chance to win a boat at the end of the year. Like that's the one chance in the Northwest you have to win a boat, and so we do those, and then we do opens. The Panhandle Bass Club in North
Okay.
Idaho is unbelievable. Like what they're doing. There's a few guys running that that just are super passionate about making it awesome. Like there's 120% payback right now on their opens because they have so
Wow.
much added sponsor money. So we do those opens, try to support those guys. And then, I've thought about doing, and I know you are, doing the BAM stuff so that we have an opportunity to do BAM pro-ams. And then, the Super 60 I thought about doing like you're doing. And they come up to they're all across the West, of course, but they do some Northwest stuff on the lakes that we fish every year. So that's a really cool opportunity, and it just hasn't worked out where it made sense for me to do it yet. But I plan on doing some BAM stuff if it lines up. Like this year, the Pro Am. Are you fishing the Pro Am on Powell's?
No, I've considered it. There's a chance. There's still a
Okay.
chance, small chance. But I've never been to Potholes. I would love to.
Yeah.
I finished second in the pro am on oh gosh, what's that lake we went to, Bailey, for the Super 60 this as well in California, the first Super 60.
Don
Don
Pedro?
Pedro. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Relying on the
so
New Yorker to tell you that one,
I
buddy.
know
Come
that's
on,
horrible. I was thinking of all there's a bunch of lakes right there. There's like New
Yeah.
Baloney's and all these ones. But anyways, so I didn't fish Shasta, so I have really good points from that event to make the championship for the pro am.
Oh, cool.
But
Yeah.
I have to fish because the way that's set up. I have to fish 4, and I just don't think work wise I'm going to be able to swing 4 plus the Super
Yeah.
60. So I may fish the one on the Columbia just because that's a month before the Super 60.
Super 60. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but no, but I've heard that lake is really cool. But are you planning on fishing that
Awesome.
one?
I would love to, but like it coincides with the Coeur d'Alene Classic, the big
Oh
open.
shoot,
So Dan and I love that tournament. And so, and
yeah,
a lot of it,
it's been hard to miss.
yeah, a lot of it's just we have so much fun fishing together and
Team
preparing
stuff.
for those. And the Coeur d'Alene guys are just they're so good and so tough to compete against. It's a challenge, so it's fun. So they coincide, so I'll probably do that one. Otherwise, I would. That's what I was getting at. Is like there are quite a few opportunities up here, not big tournaments, but good tournaments, and so it's you got to pick and choose a little bit.
The
So
local competitive scene for sure. But that open you're talking about, the Coeur d'Alene Open, I've got a lot of buddies that live in Coeur d'Alene and in that zone. But I think what Carl and Brandon fished it last year together. So
yeah.
like Brandon will come back and fish that one on Coeur d'Alene.
Actually, I think Brandon fished that one with Jake. I think they fished the fall
Oh,
one.
with Boomer.
The summer
Okay.
one he fished with Jake Boomer. But yeah, and they did good. I think they got third or something in that thing. So yeah, it's always, dude. I think I said this. The toughest tournaments I've won, the ones I was most proud of, are that turn. We've won that tournament twice. I think it's that tournament.
Oh
It is
wow.
just a beast of a tournament to win because there's just some local hammers that
Yeah.
spend all their time on that place. So it's a tough one. Yeah, there's some really good sticks.
That's cool. I'd love to make it up there for that one of these days.
You'd do really good. Yeah, it would set up good for you.
I don't know. The place is so cool though. Coeur d'Alene is fishing off the freaking charts too, from what I can tell. It was last year, but I'm sure it's even doing
Oh, it's
just as good
ridiculous.
this
Yeah,
year.
we had 20. Well, the ABA. Were you at the ABA championship last year?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we had 27 pounds. I got
We had
second.
we had 26. I was like, dude, we got a shot. And it was
Right.
like, no,
Yeah.
we don't. Just kidding.
We had 27, and I think we got beat by almost a full pound on all brown. 28.
All brown.
Yeah. Like holy cow.
And yeah, like
We had an epic day. Everything went right. Started with two over smallmouth over 5, caught a 6-pound largemouth in the afternoon. Like the day you drew up and planned what you'd hope would happen happened, and we still got beat by a pound. So yeah, Coeur d'Alene's nuts.
it's so cool.
God.
I hope at some point, Bailey, you get to experience that place. You got to come out and check it out, just because. So Bailey lives in New York and gets to experience some
He
incredible
has the
lake
same
fishing.
thing. Yeah, I mean it's the same freaking crazy thing there.
It,
Yeah,
it's your Cayuga Lake, pretty much. What you got
Literally,
over there?
yeah,
literally,
Yeah.
giant
yeah.
largemouth. There's a 10 wade this year, or was it last year? Like there's some big largemouth, and then of course
Really
the
good one.
smallmouth
Yeah,
are just lights out lately.
yeah.
What's the Idaho state record largemouth? Do you
Good
know
question.
offhand?
I don't.
Um, yeah. It's well, I don't know. It's out of I think it's out of Anders. Actually, it's out of Banks Lake, which sounds. Or
Sounds
no, sorry, that's
problematic.
Washington. It's out
That's
of it's out of
Washington.
yeah, it's out of Anderson Lake, which I don't even think Banks Lake in Washington. There's no way the record's out of Banks Lake. They don't
Thinking
even
it
get.
was fake.
I don't know. It's always been weird to me because you don't ever see a 6-pounder caught in Banks. Anyways, I'm bunny trailing Coeur d'Alene. Yeah, I think it's upper tens,
10,
maybe
10,
right over
15.
11. Okay, yeah,
10, 10,
and I
15.
think it's Anderson Lake, right, out of the chain lakes. So,
Let's look here. Where did it go?
So
Okay, largemouth
curious.
bass, 1094. Yeah, 1094 Anderson Lake, which is a part of the chain lakes, Bailey, on Coeur d'Alene.
You know how old that fish had to be?
Old.
that's yeah,
That's a
well,
1948 record.
yeah.
1022, 1948. That could get
That's
beat.
crazy.
There's
It
been some
probably would.
tens.
Yeah, there had like I think Jess, Jess, he caught a
Yeah,
Jess Pottinger caught a
yeah.
960 or something, practicing for the
That was
icebreaker.
a
He's always,
freak.
huh?
That was a freak. I saw that
What a
fish. That
freak.
was so
He's
cool.
always good to poke a big one he shouldn't poke right before the tournament. That's just watching.
When in
We've all
practice.
been there.
Oh man.
Hey, well, I'll just ship you guys some gobies and we'll blow that place up.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Dude. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Good to hear kind of the scene and give folks a background of what the Northwest. To me, the Northwest is the negative to it is the isolation, right? Like it is up on kind of its own corner as far as in relation to some of the rest of the West. I mean, say you're going to go fish a tournament in Arizona, you're
Yeah,
looking at a 15 plus hour drive kind of a
yeah,
thing to get
yeah.
down there.
I
Um,
was just looking. Actually, you're exactly right. I think I remember Havasu was like just a bear to even if you're just going, staying on the West Coast. I think it's well over. Let me look.
yeah.
It's almost a good thing in some regards, though, right? Because that kind of protects it from getting too pressured. Yeah.
From like the crowd, I
Right.
agree, Bailey. If we're talking just fishing, I think it's
Just mean that
absolute
region.
benefit. Tournament fishing, a little bit of a negative there, right? Like
It's just
you're
Hard to draw.
from a touring standpoint, if you were to try and create a full Western tour.
Yeah,
yeah,
like hard to get the participation. Like you're saying, like get people to come up that way.
yeah,
Right.
19 hours to have it. It's just tough to like get participation high because it's a long way. Everywhere you go is a long ways. Shit, you drive across Montana to head to wherever, like going to Fish and Open, which I've done
Yep.
several times, or like the Classic or Nationals. Um, dude, you're in Montana for 2 days. It feels like before you even get to the, Dakotas. It's just it is. It makes it tough from a fishing standpoint to move around and like an 11-hour drive. I watch a lot of fishing YouTubes and they'll talk about like I got an 11-hour drive coming up. Like it's long. I'm like, dude, Adam would
That's
go
great.
11 hours to a club derby up. It's just we're used to 11 hours. That's not a lot for us. But
That's crazy.
even getting down to like Shasta, it's a little bit of a poke, from especially
Yeah.
up here. I mean, I'm six. We're kind of Adam and I are both in the Northwest. We're
Yeah.
6 or 7 hours apart. If he wants to
Yeah.
come up and fish Coeur d'Alene, it's a 6-hour drive. So,
Yeah. At
yeah,
least. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's spread out. Yeah, it could spread
It,
out. Makes it tough.
yeah. Our fisheries are just spread out, right? Like there's a lot more land mass between fisheries and less people. Just in
Right.
general in the western part of the country versus the east, and that to me makes it really special. It makes it's super unique and neat, but there's drawbacks. And as far as fisheries go in Washington and thinking through like quality places and North Idaho, but like give folks a little bit of a background of like what kind of quality fisheries like just and these don't have to be secret hidey places that are like hey these have some giants in them, but like generally speaking, like what makes Washington special to you as a fishery side of things, and then kind of some of the diversity. Talk a little bit about the region
Yeah.
that you're in.
Yeah, I mean, you see some really successful pro fishermen come from this area because of the diversity you talked about, like Luke Clausen, Polinick, obviously. Um, but there, I really think that some of the best fishermen in the world are right. I compete with every weekend because there's not an avenue for them to travel, right, and go fish on a bigger level.
Right.
So and so they get stuck around here, and you can learn so much about all sorts of fishing here. We have from the Columbia River where you have big smallmouth, big current related smallmouth with a lot of largemouth backwaters, and just a huge beyond just the fishing, Adam. Like I think the Columbia River teaches, makes you grow up a little bit fishing wise. You have really big water, you have a lot of like navigation struggles, right? So you just can really glean a lot of like the things that you need to know as a tournament angler beyond the fishing. Um, at in places like that. And so
Yeah.
that's one place. You got Potholes Reservoir, which is unique to any other place in the world. Like the biology of that place, it's basically created by these. They call it potholes because it's this big giant sand dune that's flooded, and wind over time has carried the sand and built these dunes. And so you got this ecosystem at Potholes is unique to anywhere in the world, with flooded brush just for thousands of acres. So it's a largemouth haven. And one of the
That's
best
cool.
it's not even a big lake, but you put 80 boats on it, and it feels like you have a lot of stuff to yourself. So it just fishes so big. It's an awesome fishery.
So
Um,
cool.
yeah, yeah, and
I've
then
only looked at it on Google Maps, and just like you're saying, it looks like a different world.
it
Like it
is.
literally looks like a different planet with
Yeah.
how it kind of sets up. It's like nothing you've ever seen. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's you can't even explain it until you've been there. Like I like, there's been a couple times where I've taken someone um, there for the first time, and when you're running back into the dunes and you're just, you're going by brush that you don't feel like you should be running through. Um, it's a cool experience for the first time. Yeah, it's a neat place. So, yeah, those are two the kind of two of the three mainstays of tournament fishing in Washington. And then the
Okay.
third is Banks Lake, which is a man-made reservoir um, that they pumped water out of Lake Roosevelt to basically get water to a bunch of crops to farmers in a different part of the state. And it's incredible too. It's 20, I think 27 miles long, largemouth, smallmouth. You have grass, rock. Um, I mean, it's just super, like you can scope for
Got everything.
smallmouth, or throw a frog up in reeds for largemouth. So it's super diverse, and another really good. And those are the three biggest tournament lakes. We have a ton of lakes, like Moses Lake, which feeds Potholes Reservoir, is just loaded with big fish. Like we have a tournament every year, the Nixon's Invitational, which Nixon's Marine put hosts. They're a great boat dealership here in the Northwest, and they do a cool format. It's $10,000 for first day. They cut the field to the top 10 boats, and the weight's zero, which I love that format. It takes like 22
Dude,
pounds this year to get the top 10. So
wow.
yeah, it's great fishery. So it's just I don't know. There's so much, and then that's not even to mention like Lake Roosevelt, which is hundreds of miles long. You can run. We'll launch and have to get gas twice in a tournament because it's so big. It's all smallmouth and in a reservoir with very A lot of grass. It's a great walleye fishery too. Has a ton of grass,
Yes.
but mostly it's like a, yeah, you've probably got to experience that. But yeah, it's dude, and all those fisheries are so much different than one another that you get a chance to learn a lot and see a lot of different stuff up here, and I think that helps kind of diversify your skills, and it forces you to get good at a lot of different stuff.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I think the coolest thing, I have said this from the beginning, like if I when I first moved to Idaho, the intent was to eventually get to Coeur d'Alene in that region,
Yeah,
right? And just because it's so, you just go around every corner, and the only other place I can describe it to is literally the times that I've spent up in New York,
yeah,
Bailey, and like that zone of like you have so much water, and you have all these super healthy fisheries, and it's just the northern part of the country where you have all these super diverse fisheries. And then, by the way, all these rivers connecting places are real rivers, and you can launch a bass boat on them and go fish for incredible current driven fish, both largemouth and smallmouth, every turn you go. Like there's just so much to do. You could never get bored fishing, like even if you're not tournament fishing, just fishing so much water, all across the eastern part of Washington and northern Idaho. It's special, man.
100%. Yeah, no, it is. You're spot on. It's a cool place. I'm so lucky to live here. Yeah, it's if you like fishing, whether it's tournament fishing or not, this is a good place to do it. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't need to go anywhere else. Sounds like you got
yeah, it's
just
hard
about
to.
everything covered.
Yeah, like
It's hard to leave.
when they have nationals and you go to the Ouachita River in Louisiana, you're like, what? And why did they pick this spot? Like it's just
Yeah,
a lot of
Sucks,
those
and it's,
they
places.
just
dude,
love pain, pretty much.
yeah, I'm so, like, maybe I'm just a wimp, but like when it comes to where I'm annoyed with crappy fisheries. And look, where I'm at in around Boise, it's nothing like it is up there, or when I do get to travel to Northern California or other places. But at least I'm able to travel to that stuff fairly close, and it's quality fishing.
Yeah,
Um, like when I was getting ready to move and looking at different places, like the only places I really considered was like the north or the north, like like northeast or northwest, because I want easy dumb fish and big fish, and I'm sick
mhm.
of traveling to tournaments to where you catch 9 pounds and you're in contention, and I'm just like, this is brutal. That this bass has seen 55 baits go across its face in the last 2 hours. So, anyways, not
Yeah,
not talking crap to everyone else across the country, but there's some pretty special fisheries. If nothing else, you need to at least visit those parts of the country.
I agree. Yeah, and there are other places that are awesome, like Gunnersville area right now. It's just amazing.
Right.
South Carolina,
The Carolinas are one that I would consider.
they're really cool. I think Bailey, I was stalking a little. I think you were just in South Carolina. I love that whole area. Is
Hmm.
really freaking cool. Like Hartwell was super neat. Cost of living was great.
Yes.
It seemed like
Yeah.
so. Yeah,
You got
there's some
that.
places that I wouldn't mind being, but yeah, Northwest is
Yeah,
pretty hard to beat.
yeah. My wife and I have looked heavy at that Lake Murray area in that like Columbia, in that region.
Yeah,
But we go back, dude. It's like it's a new verdict every week with us when we're looking at finally buying a house where it's like, God, gotta get out of New York. This sucks. And then I come home from fishing and I catch 50 in 3 hours on a swim jig and reeds, and I'm like, you know what, New York's not that bad. And then I get disgruntled again. I go fishing and it all changes. And
uh,
it's like, gosh, no, we got dumb turkeys here. And it just screws me over. I can never make up my mind.
yeah, you're in a good spot too. I think that ideally it would be nice to be somewhere like down south in the winter,
Dude.
because the winters get
Snowbird
just like you
situation.
said, it gets brutal. Yeah, so that'd be
See,
ideal.
that's the dream scenario. This is what
Yep.
I've told my wife. I said, if
Dude,
we can make a pile of money, snowbird, and I can try to convince her still. I haven't gotten there yet. But the winters, you do like end of gun season here in New York's like mid December. So basically, you do like Christmas till April in Texas, and then you do the rest of the year in New York, and you're living the fishing dream.
Yeah,
dude.
100%.
I want to do the same on this side. So like dream
You want
would
to go
be,
halvesies on a Texas house?
dude. No, I don't even. I mean, Texas is sweet. There's a lot of. Don't get me wrong. I would probably be plenty happy in Texas, but I've really fallen in love with like that Colorado River chain, Havasu, Mojave, Mead. Like those are just cool fisheries to me, and I love the desert. And so, what like my dream is exactly like rather than being Boise and then down, it would be Coeur d'Alene summer, right, and then Arizona
Yeah,
winter, and then
Havasu
run
area
back.
winter. Yeah, I enjoyed Havasu too in the winter. It was really cool.
Yeah,
What would be your snowbird situation, Taylor?
I think that Havasu. I
yeah,
really liked Havasu. I guess Havasu kind of is. I mean, it's a big party lake and stuff in the summer. So,
right,
and it's just way too hot for me. But
yeah,
during the winter, I really liked it. I mean, a lot of people I've talked to don't like it, and I don't really get that because I thought it was pretty nice. So
sweet.
I think yeah, it'd be similar to what Adam said. I think Havasu and Coeur d'Alene or Spokane. I'm right across the border. I'm right across the border from Idaho, but yeah,
Yeah,
Spokane.
Spokane. Yeah, yeah. No, I dig it,
Heck yeah.
man. Well, we've been rolling here for a little while. Bailey, anything else for Taylor? And when's your next derb? I guess that'd be kind of my last question. What are you fishing next?
Seems like every weekend this time of year, right? Northwest Bass on Banks this weekend. Last weekend, I fished a little ABA tournament with my buddy Dave on the Ponderay River. I don't know if you
Oh, cool.
fished there, but the Washington
No,
side.
I've heard about it, but yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard about it.
yeah, it's super fun. But this weekend's Banks. It's the second Northwest Bass. Usually they've already had two or three, but second Northwest Bass in the circuit. So we'll be down there practicing Friday and tournament on Saturday. So hopefully that goes well.
Living the dream.
Second one of the year. Got to maintain points.
There
Heck
you go.
yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, dude, I kind of want to end it with the how he usually ends the serious angler shows, just because I love Taylor's mentality. But
Yeah.
uh, so Taylor, what we do on obviously with the OG serious angler shows we put on Wednesdays is every time we get somebody that's new, it's their first time on the pod. I love ending the episodes with a question that we usually give no precursor warning to, which we probably should, but we like kind of just throwing it on the
Uh
spot. But
oh. Okay.
it's not bad. It's
It's
not
not
bad. It
bad.
just
You're
makes you
good.
think.
Yeah, I
It
was
makes
gonna
you think.
say starting it that way
Uh,
makes you sound like you're gonna, yeah. Like,
and basically, it's this. It's if you could sit down with three different individuals. They don't have to be in fishing. They could be alive 1,000 years ago or alive today. It doesn't matter. It could be anybody. If you could sit down with three different people, have a steak and a beer, just to pick their brain and talk to them, who would you choose?
Jeez, that's freaking tough.
We've gotten everywhere from Kevin Van Dam to Trump to Jesus to Albert Einstein. Like there's
Yeah.
a wide range of answers, but I feel
Yeah.
like
I,
yours
you
would be
know,
interesting.
I've always thought I'm a huge fishing fan, tournament fishing fan. So I watch a lot of like, I don't watch much TV because I'm always watching like someone's fishing YouTube. And I've
sure.
always been intrigued by like the Connell Wheeler relationship. And so I think it'd be cool to meet those guys. I've never met either of those guys. I think it'd be cool to meet one of those. Like Connell's just seems like my type of dude, you know? So that'd be cool. From a fishing standpoint, I think one of those guys would be cool to hang out with them. The other thing is, it's like, dude, I'm constantly learning and scoping. Sometimes recently, last few years, it's like one of those things where like it amazes me how, like on that fork tournament, like the best scopers are dominating that tournament, and everyone in that field, I think, is probably as good as me at scoping. So just I would love to know what some of those nuances are. Um, that some of the top level guys like Wheeler and Connell. So that would be, I'd love to pick their brain on that from a fishing standpoint. My mom's family was from Massachusetts, Northeast,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I didn't get to see my grandpa and grandma, but like once every 2 years growing up. My grandpa was just this hardworking old farmer that lived on a ranch. They had cows growing up, and just kind of, he was just such an awesome dude. Like I wish I would love to be able to sit down and bullshit with him. my grandpa,
Yeah.
from Massachusetts. He just like had such a wholesome like aura about it. He's just so wholesome, And so I guess as an adult, I wish I could sit down one on one and talk with him. He'd be one of them for sure. And then, this sounds corny, but I have some really good friends that like I have a kind of a small, tight knit group of friends, but um, with kids and life, you just don't get to see them as much, I guess. So I'm not going to pick one of them, but if I was sitting down and having a beer with and a steak, I guess one of them would be my next pick because we don't get to do it as much as we
I
otherwise
love that.
used
Yeah.
to.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
Good
That's
answers.
probably
You hit it all. You hit the fishing guys, hit family, hit grandpa,
that's right.
and then the boys. So
Yeah,
I
I'd pick
like it.
my dad, but he lives on our property here, so
You get to see him plenty.
I guess, yeah,
I have too many beers with him.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a good question. I'll probably wish I would have
Appreciate
said
it.
later. I'll think back and be like, God, why didn't I say this person? That's
That
what.
is the exact reason why we've asked this since literally the inception of Serious Angler was because the amount of DMs and texts or calls I've gotten from guests after the fact of like, dude, it made me start thinking about all this stuff. And then they tell
Yeah,
you more names and it brings up more stories, which makes for better, conversation the next time we get you on. So it's a cool thing that makes you start thinking about stuff. And
100%.
um,
Yeah, no, that's
yeah,
cool. That's a good. It is get your wheels a turning.
yeah. And honestly, dude, one of the coolest ones, I had a guy that mentioned, I wish I had more time with my dad. And that question alone made him go and call up his dad, travel
Yeah,
across the country and go have dinner and a beer with his dad.
which
And
is
I'm like,
sweet. That's
okay. We're asking that for the rest of eternity that this show's
100%.
Right.
alive. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So it
right.
was cool. Yeah.
It's good.
But
Awesome.
dude, thanks for taking time out to join the show, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you too. Like this is a cool show. I watched a few clips leading up, and I appreciate what you guys. There's a lot of podcasts going on, so I appreciate.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Yeah, I appreciate that you guys are, putting on the good fight, and I enjoyed listening to the stuff I listened to, and just your guys' passion for making this work for you two. I commend you both, and so thank you guys for doing this. It's cool that you guys are putting in the work and effort because it's not lost on me that it takes a lot of that to do it. So kudos to you too.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you very much, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, cool.
Adam,
I think that's
one
a good way
last
to
thing
end
for Adam. Stay in your neck of the woods. No need to come up here and fish again.
it.
Unfortunately, I think I'm going to miss the Northwest ABA Championship this year because fist pumping over there because it lines up with the Super 60. So I think I'm going to try and swing down. Lauren and I are going to swing down and fish the Arizona and maybe even the California ones to try and swing
Oh,
at a
right.
boat in those
Right.
ABA
Yeah.
championships. So
You guys will do well, I'm sure.
see what we can do.
Yeah.
It would be fun fun
You
to
guys will give them a
look
run
at
for their
those.
money.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So, well, thanks. Well, yeah, man, we'll see you down the road. I'm sure at some point at another derby here soon. But thanks for taking the time, giving us a little insight into yourself and the
Yeah.
Northwest, what it has to offer. And
Thanks for
yeah,
having me.
man, we'll see you down the road.
All right, folks. And that is going to do it for today's show, Mr. Taylor Smith. And hopefully, folks have taken away a nugget or two. I think, honestly, dude, it's cool in this regard of like your idea of trying to bring more light to these West Coast fisheries because like you're correct and like we talked about in the intro is the Delta gets all the love, Clear Lake gets all the love for good reason, right? They get a lot of the newsworthy stuff, but I think Washington might be more on the map for some folks on from a bass fishing standpoint than before they listen to the show.
Right, right. If nothing else, it's like, hey, if you've ever considered, I've thought about this, like say, this is something I could do now, but you could potentially do kind of with your flexibility, but you look at like, say you're at that stage of retirement, or I've been seeing a lot of this stuff now of like, take what's it called rather than a leave, but like you take like a sabbatical, like say you take a year sabbatical off your career and, or 6 months, whatever it may be. It's like, man, how sick would it be to have a truck bed camper, pull the boat, and go just do a Western tour of bass fishing, like it would be very worthwhile to check out the state of Washington and the Northwest in general and buzz over into Idaho and some of these. But like, man, like if you've ever considered checking out different states, or maybe your goal is to catch a bass in all 50 states or something like that, like this is I dare I say it, a bucket list place. Like there's some incredible bass fishing in the state of Washington.
It sounds like Washington might be one of the more underrated bass fishing states in the entire country that's just not getting talked about.
Right.
Maybe for good reason. We might have some hate from this,
Yeah.
this show.
Yeah. Very well. Yeah. Taylor's going to be like, hey guys, thanks for ruining our
Elite.
lakes. Now there's people everywhere. No, all of our 3 listeners can go ahead and go check out Washington.
Yeah, don't worry. My mom's not going to go fish Washington.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, such a nice guy, easy guy to talk to, and glad to shed some light on an amazing place for bass fishing that doesn't get talked about.
Heck yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks again to Taylor for joining the show, and thanks again to Amped Outdoors for titling this segment here, featuring the West Coast. Make sure you guys check out Amped Outdoors if you need any lithium batteries or power stations. But man, great episode. And hopefully folks are looking forward to upcoming Serious Angler show on Wednesday with Mr. Mike Iconelli. So that one's going to be a riot of a time, as I'm sure it always is with Ike. But anything else for the folks, man, before we wrap this sucker up?
No, just look for what's coming next with everything Serious Angler. Of course, always, if you can, give us a like, give us a subscribe on all of these platforms. It gives us the ability to keep making this stuff, and check out our partners. They're the ones that are giving us the ability to do this and continue on. So please, if anyone's out there that take the time to do that, helps us a bunch.
Heck yeah. Well, folks, appreciate y'all for watching, listening. We'll see y'all on the next one.